On the Thursday, August 21st, 2025, episode of The Young and the Restless, Victor gave Claire and Kyle some good news. Nate accused Audra of not being truthful, and Jack was cautious over Kyle and Claire's good news. At Society, Diane theorized to Jack and Kyle that Harrison had probably grown a foot during his time away from Genoa City. Kyle seemed distracted. He revealed to his parents that Audra kissed him. Jack believed Audra set up Kyle. Kyle relayed that Audra was vicious. Diane imagined that Claire was not happy, but suggested she was too smart to fall for Audra's lies. Kyle felt that Claire had doubts. Diane pointed out that Audra has nothing because nothing happened in Nice, right? Kyle said the kiss Claire observed might not have been the first time they had locked lips. Diane pointed out that people saw Kyle and Audra go in and out of each other's cabins while they were on Kane's estates. Kyle maintained that he wasn't going to share with Claire his plan to trap Audra right away because Cole had just died. Diane and Jack urged Kyle to be careful. Kyle insisted the white lie he told Claire wouldn't affect their relationship. Kyle said now was not the time to go into more details with Claire because of Audra's latest kissing stunt. Jack theorized that Claire might start to wonder which lies of Audra's are the truth. Kyle thanked his parents for their input and concern. Jack suggested Kyle stop digging the hole even deeper. He should talk to Claire before she started to believe Audra. Jack and Diane were upset with Victor for not letting Kyle and Claire live their lives in peace. While this was going on, Devon joined Nate in Chancellor Park. He said he didn't want to talk about his brother Damien's funeral, but he did want to discuss Audra. Nate suggested that Audra wasn't as trustworthy as he had hoped. Nate recapped the memorial and added he was looking forward to decompressing with Audra at Society. Nate wondered if Victor could truly hurt his granddaughter this way, and if what Claire was saying was true or not. Nate continued to fill Devon in on all the specifics about Audra initially working with Victor on Vibrante, and how she gave up their collaboration. He wondered how she could walk away from her dream. Nate laid out all the conflicting stories from Audra, Claire, and Vicky. He shared with Devon that Audra got defensive when he pushed her for details. Nate added that Claire caught Audra and Kyle kissing. He added Claire and Kyle blamed Audra for the smooch. Conversely, Audra blamed Kyle and Claire. Devon said he trusts Audra the least. Devon said this was about facts, not feelings. Nate asked Devon who seemed more aggressive in France, Audra or Kyle. Devon said for two people who hated one another, they seemed pretty friendly. Devon pointed out that the public relations stunt involving a Jabot fragrance versus a Vibrante one was Audra's idea. Nate conceded that the social media war between Vibrante and Jabot seemed odd to him. He wondered why Kyle would even take part in it. Devon said he was sorry Nate had to be dealing with this on top of losing Damien. Devon told his cousin to go with his gut on this. Nate was afraid to deal with the hat answer. Meanwhile, Audra joined Sally at Crimson Lights to go over figures for Abbott Communications. Audra informed Sally that Claire dropped a bomb on Nate over her. Audra gave her version of Claire's attack to Sally. Audra called Claire a drama queen and claimed Kyle still had a thing for her. Audra was surprised that Claire had it in her to be so assertive. She claimed that Kyle was into her. Sally questioned Audra about her claim that Kyle was lying. Audra pointed out she was all over the place because of Damien's death. Sally gently pointed out that maybe both Kyle and Audra were cheating. Audra doubled down and said Kyle was just a towel away from going all the way. Audra shared that Nate slept on the couch last night after he got suspicious. Sally advised Audra not to lie. Audra realized Sally had a point when she said Nate finding out about her deal with Victor was always a possibility. Audra remained confident that she could handle the situation. She did say she kissed Kyle at Society just as Claire walked in. "Audra, you are playing with fire," Sally pointed out. Sally compared her dynamic with Adam with Audra's with Nate. She noted that Audra seemed happier than ever. Then, Nate joined Audra and Sally at Crimson Lights. Sally excused herself, leaving the two alone. Audra asked Nate if she wanted him to explain things to him again. "Enough, Audra," Nate said. "It's time you listen to me." Audra suggested they drop the subject of Kyle and they get something to eat. Nate said he couldn't pretend that Claire's accusations just didn't happen. Nate accused Audra of lying to him. Meanwhile, Victor had black and white flashback to a conversation Kyle and Claire had with him. Victor said there was nothing Kyle could do to convince him that he was worthy of Claire. Victor had another recollection when he talked to Claire, and he told her that the Abbotts and the Newmans didn't get along. Then, Victor recalled Kyle offering to pay Victor $5 million if he broke Claire's heart, and also Kyle blasting him in Nice. Nikki interrupted Victor's train of thought. She sensed something was troubling her husband. He said he was thinking about things. Victor said it was time to settle the Kyle-Claire situation once and for all. Claire told Vicky that she and Tessa had a good talk, but that they ran into Audra and Nate. Claire added that she told Nate about Audra and Victor's scheme. She added that she lost it because of Audra. Claire added that she had zero regrets over doing what she did. Vicky wondered if Nate believed Claire when she told him Audra was untrustworthy. Then Victor arrived. He said he was there to see Claire. Vicky intervened, trying to protect her daughter. Victor said Claire needed to hear him out. Victoria left after urging the two to play nice. Victor asked his granddaughter how she would react if he told her he would no longer stand in the way of her and Kyle. Claire said she wasn't complaining, but she wondered what changed Victor's mind. Victor said he'd been thinking. He realized he and Claire both grew up without parents. They each grew up on their own. "I adore you," Victor told Claire. She pointed out that he had gone too far when it came to protecting her. Victor said he tended to do that at times. "I love you, Grandpa," Claire said as she embraced him. "Please forgive me," Victor added. Still at society, Kyle tried to change the subject of Victor by saying he was looking forward to setting a playdate with Harrison at the zoo. Then, Victor called Kyle. He demanded that Kyle come to the ranch and hung up on Kyle as Kyle was still talking. Then, Claire arrived. She happily suggested to Kyle that he go to the ranch because everything had changed. After Kyle had left, Nikki and Victoria arrived at society. Claire informed them that Victor was accepting Kyle. Claire thanked Jack and Diane for standing by her and Kyle. Diane and Jack were optimistic that Victor meant what he said. However, Jack advised Claire and Kyle stay alert as another shoe could always drop. Kyle arrived at the ranch. "It's time to end this," Victor informed Kyle. He admitted that he set him up with Audra in Nice, and he passed the test. Victor added that Kyle supported Claire. He admitted that Kyle loves his granddaughter, and now he will step aside, for the most part. Kyle asked Victor if this were another trap. Victor said now is a time to move forward. "I love your granddaughter so much, Victor," Kyle said. Victor cautioned that he wouldn't give Kyle his blessing because he was an abbot. He'd never trust him completely. Victor admonished Kyle that he will be watching him. The Young and the Restless, spoilers for Monday, August 25th, reveal that Victor Newman will expose Kane Ashby's dirty money, while Lily Winters suspects Holden Novak is lying. For starters, Kane will have another meeting with Victor, who'll make some shocking accusations. It turns out Victor will claim to have knowledge of Colin Atkinson's last great swindle and will suggest Kane's been buying up property with dirty money. Of course, Kane may defend his late father, who supposedly turned things around toward the end of his life. Colin spent decades running scams and chasing after shady paydays, so he wanted to help Kane build a legitimate empire before his passing. Kane believes he achieved that with Colin's assistance, but Victor will apparently act like Colin was the same old schemer, even after he claimed to change. Will Victor have evidence to back up these dirty money accusations? Even if he does, Kane might act like it's fabricated and struggle to believe what Victor's telling him. Other Y&R spoilers say Lily will be determined to learn the extent of Kane's plans in Genoa City. Kane still hasn't told Lily what his full agenda looks like, so Lily will decide maybe Holden knows more than he's letting on. Once Lily finds Holden in the park, she'll put him through a grilling session. Lily will plead for the truth, but Holden will insist he's out of the loop when it comes to Kane's complete plot. Although Lily will have a hard time buying that, Holden will promise he doesn't know the details. Holden is working for Kane and doing what he's told, but his boss is playing things close to the vest for now. Lily will walk away from this conversation frustrated since she obviously won't get the meaty updates she's after. Phyllis Summers is Kane's right-hand woman these days, so Lily might try pumping her for the latest news eventually. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Kane will deal with more hurdles when it comes to all the takeovers he's got cooking up, so stay tuned. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday, August 26th, have Nate forcing Audra to come clean, and Kane tasking Phyllis with her first assignment. Nate heard directly from Claire her story that Audra had conspired with Victor to seduce Kyle. Audra has denied it, but Nate can't help but be open to the idea that this could all be true. It certainly makes sense as to why Victor even entertained handing money over to Audra. Conversely, Nate doesn't want to believe the woman he cares about would seduce another man for money. Nate listened to what Claire had to say. Then, he quizzed Audra on Claire's accusations. Audra fired back that Kyle is lying to Claire, and he's been coming on to her. Nate is not dismissing Audra's theory. Frankly, he'd probably love it to be true. But is it? On Friday's show, watch for Nate to force Audra to come clean. Will she? Audra is a keen strategist. She may stick to her guns and deny Claire's version of events, or she may fess up and tell Nate everything. If she does that, she could lose the man she professes to love. Kane has promised that his plans will be revealed. On Friday's show, viewers may get some insights into the billionaire's master scheme as he instructs Phyllis on her first task. Phyllis has promised Kane her loyalty, and we can see her going up against Jack, Victor, and Adam. But would the fiery redhead even turn on Nick, the ex-husband she loved to play video games with? Maybe not. Perhaps Kane is going to find out if Phyllis will carry out his instructions. This could be a loyalty test. If Phyllis delivers, then Kane will be more likely to trust her in the future. If not, she could find herself on the unemployment line. Knowing Phyllis, she'll stay 2 steps ahead of Kane if she can. It seems like the Young and the Restless writers have kept Daniel in limbo for quite some time, ever since his girlfriend Heather was murdered in September of 2024. He feels disoriented and isn't sure what his next career move should be. But after his talk with Holden at Society this week, it feels like the writers may have given us a hint. We know he isn't wealthy like the Newmans or Abbotts, but maybe his sister Summer could loan him enough money to open the club and get it up and running, since her career at Marchetti is thriving in Milan. Maybe Tessa could provide some of the club's live music, since she sings and plays guitar. Daniel and Tessa have developed a nice friendship ever since she started giving him guitar lessons. Their musical bond has been therapeutic for both of them. It's been helping to take her mind off her relationship woes with Mariah, and it's a creative outlet for Daniel that's bringing some joy into his life since Heather died. Perhaps he could occasionally perform at the club himself, and that would give him a sense of pride and purpose after being unemployed for so long. It would also keep his creative juices flowing, as longtime fans know he's an artist. Maybe he could decorate the walls of the club with his paintings and make his artwork available for sale. That way, his establishment would be a combination of nightclub and art gallery. That would kill 2 birds with 1 stone, since Genoa City doesn't have either a club or a gallery at the moment. Daniel's rock star father, Danny, has been preoccupied with his engagement to Christine right now. But once the wedding and honeymoon are over, and he has some time in between tours, we know he would love to sing at Daniel's club. Maybe he and Daniel could even perform together. They could be a father-to-son version of Naomi and Winona Judd, but in a different genre of music than country. The Genoa City residents would be thrilled to watch them, especially Daniel's mom, Phyllis, his daughter, Lucy, and Christine. Besides, there's been so much tragedy lately on the Young and the Restless. With the recent deaths of Cole, Chance, and Damien, many of the town's residents are feeling heartbroken and devastated. They need a cheerful gathering place where they can laugh, dance, spend time with family and friends, and enjoy a cocktail or two. Even the characters who aren't suffering the loss of a loved one are in bad shape, because they're tense and anxious about Kane's goal to take over all the prominent companies in Genoa City. Those characters need a place to unwind and relax, and a fun new hotspot is the perfect place to do that. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that Mariah Copeland may receive a mysterious blackmail message that starts with 5 alarming words. Will Mariah face a shocking threat and get another reminder of the business trip she'd rather forget? Mariah still feels haunted by her drunken night with the stranger she ultimately smothered, so fans are wondering where her storyline will go from here. Although Mariah is in therapy and trying to cope as best as she can, she's not doing well at all. Of course, Mariah may be doing even worse once she realizes just how close Tessa Porter and Daniel Romalotti Jr. are getting. It may feel like Mariah's chance to salvage her marriage is slipping away. However, Mariah's life could be turned upside down even more if someone sends her a mysterious blackmail message. That could be exactly what this Y&R story needs to give it a jolt of energy and push it into another exciting chapter. Mariah may think she's the only person in the loop on the horror of that night, but what if she's wrong? Secrets have a way of getting out on soaps, so Mariah may be horrified over someone finding out about her criminal actions. That brings us to the 5 alarming words that mysterious blackmail message might start off with. I know what you did. Mariah may flip out if somebody knows about the smothering and uses it as leverage. There have been some rumblings about Kane Ashby potentially uncovering the secret and using it to his advantage. After all, Kane urged Holden Novak to make a connection with Mariah and seems like he might want to take over Cassidy First Technology as part of his grand plans. Kane could play dirty if he uses Mariah's secret to gain control of Sharon Newman's company, so that's an intriguing option to consider. It's also possible the stranger survived Mariah's smothering attempt and will track her down to mess with her. On the other hand, a relative might be out for revenge if that man really did perish. Whatever the case, it'd be interesting to see Mariah deal with a blackmail crisis. Mariah might face a message that leads to some demands and an unraveling mystery about who's behind the threat. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Mariah has more bad news ahead of her no matter what. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday, August 22nd indicate some bombshells on the horizon in Genoa City. A new employee is given their first assignment, while someone is forced to come clean, and a romance comes to an end. What's set to go down during Friday's show? Time to find out. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday, August 22nd hint that this is the moment that Phyllis Summers has been waiting for. Added teasers imply that Kane Ashby will give Phyllis her first assignment. So what exactly will he ask her to do? Could she be asked to betray Nick Newman? Could she be asked to tap into the Jabot servers? Only time will tell. Across town, Audra Charles will be forced to come clean by Nate Hastings. Claire Newman threw Audra under the bus by telling Nate about his girlfriend's scheme with Victor Newman to break up her romance with Kyle. While Audra tried to deflect this accusation when she was confronted, Nate will force Audra to tell the truth on Friday, and it looks like she'll admit to everything she's done. This may include the kiss she and Kyle shared, while he was wearing only a towel on his bed in Nice. Will Nate fill Claire in on what he discovered? Finally, could this be the end of Nadra? The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday sort of suggest this. After all, Audra not only cheated on Nate, but she also outright lied to him about her agreement with the mustache. Plus, the way she and Kyle carried on in Nice was like they were a couple, so Nate may feel like a fool, especially since everyone warned him about Audra and her manipulative nature. What are you most excited to see during Friday's show? Comment below. Watch your favorite CBS soap daily and check out SOS often for the best Young and the Restless spoilers, news, and updates. The Young and the Restless spoilers document that Victor Newman recognizes that Kane Ashby is a threat. That's why the mustache used his minions to gather intel for the past months. Kane anticipated a far different reception than happened in France. His estate party, or whatever one wanted to term it, was an unmitigated disaster, including 3 deaths. The whole world knows who Aristotle Dumas is now that Victor has given the green light to Adam Newman to smear Kane. But the recast character Kane is playing only cares that 3 of those people, including his ex-wife and their children, were negatively impacted. Chance Chancellor was a legacy character tied to the longest-standing family in Genoa City, Wisconsin, so killing him off was a big deal. While Chance hasn't yet received a memorial service or even a send-off fitting of his blood tie importance, at least the fans were part of an inside joke. Readers of this comprehensive site know that Floyd was tapped to replace Flynn as Chad DiMera. Viewers of Days of Our Lives will see Floyd's debut next year due to that soap's highly advanced recording schedule. So, Kane asking Chance to be at the gathering in the south of France was purposeful. Kane's death scene was also a wink at the character swap between Days and YNR. Lily Winters keeps telling Kane that she's done with him. Yet, Khalil and Flynn continue to appear in ongoing scenes. Kane is desperate to reconcile with his true love and the mother of their children. She knows he's sincere, but naturally doesn't trust him after all that's been revealed and has gone down. Accepting Victor's lead, Lily is attempting to pry information from Kane about whatever his takeover plans are. But he's not divulged anything. However, Kane stated that he would abandon his plan if she would give him a second chance, with no pun intended, as Chance was fully addressed in the section above. Eventually, Lily seems destined to relent, but plenty of plot space is ahead before that becomes feasible. Kane told Billy Abbott and Phyllis Summers that he needs people on his team. Subsequently, he had a falling out with Billy when telling him that Jabot is a target. Phyllis is on board, but was reminded that she's not Kane's equal. He appears to be using her as a means to an end, and possibly wants her to be relaying information as a form of enemy distraction. There is no doubt that Kane wants Lily back. So, fans are focused on seeing what happens if he can't have her, or doesn't achieve reconciliation in the short term. The Young and the Restless spoilers are in for Friday, August 1, 2025. Fans can expect Audra Charles to be forced into confessing. Meanwhile, Phyllis Summers embarks on her first assignment for Kane Ashby. Keep reading, and let's discuss what is coming up in the next episode of the CBS soap opera. Let's start off with Kane, who has a special assignment for Phyllis. The redhead is eager to prove herself to Kane. Although she is working for him now, Kane made it clear that they aren't partners in anything. However, knowing Phyllis, she will work overtime to make sure that he totally trusts her. Over with Nate Hastings, he will have Audra and Claire Grace Newman's fresh on his mind. The man did open up to Devin Winters. Nate said that it seems Audra is just as untrustworthy as everyone warned him about. So, it sounds like Nate has already made up his mind about the relationship, despite Audra's claims. Even though Audra defended herself, Nate noted to Devin that there was emotion and fire in Claire's eyes. The Young and the Restless spoilers for tomorrow's episode reveal that Nate will corner Audra and force her into confessing. The brunette finally spills the truth, but will continue blaming Kyle Abbott. While it is true that Victor Newman dangled the funding over Audra like a carrot, the patriarch knew how desperate Audra was, especially being out of work for so long. However, Audra should have listened to her gut and her morals. The brunette was given a choice, and she made the wrong one. Audra seems like the type to blame everyone else instead of taking responsibility for her own decisions, though. So, her rage could intensify, and she could start to go after Kyle and Claire harder than she ever had before. Fans will also see the repaired relationship between Victor and Claire. However, how long will that last? They shared a warm embrace, but if Audra loses Nate, she won't have anything or anyone left. That could turn her into a very dangerous woman. However, Claire is also quite dangerous. While she doesn't want to be like Jordan, she did get a lot of satisfaction out of exposing Audra to Nate. That might not be a good sign, so stay tuned. Which storyline are you looking forward to seeing the most? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Keep watching the soap on CBS or Paramount Plus to find out what happens next. Devin shows up for Nate and also crosses paths with Lily for the Friday, August 22nd episode of The Young and the Restless. Spoiler photos focus on a grim Nate chatting with Devin. Devin and Lily also share some quality FaceTime. Poor Nate. He has been experiencing a lot of hurt, confusion, and grief lately. He just said goodbye to the half-brother he had just met, and he is suspicious of his girlfriend, who keeps lying to him. Can you blame him for looking so grim sitting by himself at the bar? Even though his gut feeling is telling him that Audra is lying about everything, he needs confirmation. According to teasers, Nate forces Audra to come clean, so this miserable look on his face, if it's before his confrontation with his significant other, then the expression will only get worse. Nate will need Devin's support to get through this trying time. His personal life is experiencing an epic shakeup. Thankfully, Devin loves to give advice and share his words of wisdom. Hopefully, he'll refrain from any "I told you so" moments for the time being. Finally, Devin and Lily always have a lot to talk about, and almost none of it is about Winter's ink business. Undoubtedly, the two will discuss the Nate and Audra of it all. Lily has never trusted Audra, and she was super suspicious of Nate's girlfriend while they were in Nice. Who wants to bet their conversation may also veer into Kane Ashby territory? After all, Lily and Kane's kids now know about how Kane has spent the last 6 years becoming a billionaire. Bet Devin will have some words of wisdom to share with Lily too. Claire could save the best for last. Claire is on the path to revenge on the young and the restless. So far, Audra is the only person on the eye on her path. However, could she save her best revenge for Kyle? He's not exactly absolved from this situation. Claire has a new attitude these days. Instead of focusing on her grief, she is seeking revenge. She had her sights set on Audra, who's been desperate to destroy her relationship with Kyle. She made a deal with Victor to seduce Kyle. Claire joined Holden, Tessa, and Daniel in discussing grief while downing drinks at Society. After a few drinks, Claire felt bold. She was overcome with anger once she saw Audra and Nate step into the establishment. She pulled Nate aside and revealed Audra's deal with Victor. Never had Audra sprinted faster in her life than she did at that moment. Her lies were quick, but she walked into more trouble when she claimed that Victor didn't want Claire romantically involved with Kyle. Nate asked her how she knew that information. Kyle is not an innocent bystander. Claire walked into Society the moment that Audra kissed him, and Kyle looked like he was into it. Of course, this wasn't their first and only kiss. Kyle still hasn't confessed to their makeout session in Nice. He embellished the truth, so Claire wouldn't have doubts about their relationship. A kiss isn't just a kiss. Kyle cheated on Claire by kissing Audra, and he needs to fess up. So, she should save her revenge plot for him. Audra is already scrambling to fix her relationship with Nate, but the damage is already done. Nate had been questioning Audra's motives before he left for Nice. Now he finally has clarity about his own doubts. As for Claire, she could be the one who ends up cheating. Holden had already put the thought into her head that Kyle might not have been faithful in Nice. He's setting the pieces up so he can have Claire all to himself, and she might be willing to go all the way with him. The Young and the Restless spoilers document that Cole Howard and Damian Kane recently died. Cole succumbed to Legionnaire's disease, and Damian was murdered. The character Peck played was revived as part of a write-out. Considering the length of Peck's stay in the cast during his first stint, and the fact that his persona originally appeared as a baby in the 1980s, a question must be asked. Why wasn't Cole memorialized? Damian was a new character who first appeared earlier this year, with a significant amount of detail about his life offered since then. But it appears that Rivers' character was used to extend Nate Hastings' backstory and to facilitate Holden Novak's entrance into Genoa City, Wisconsin. Both of the above recently departed characters' memorials were held off-screen. But it's still plausible to rightly honor Chance Chancellor, formerly known as Philip Chancellor IV, who was shot and killed on Kane Ashby's estate. Chance is a direct tie to the famous Chancellor family, which was first represented by Catherine Chancellor and his grandfather, Philip Chancellor II. Catherine and Philip II debuted with the show in 1973. Chance's father is Philip Chancellor III. Jill Abbott is Philip III's mother. Viewers recently saw Jill, although it was only through a video call with Billy Abbott, but Chance was only referenced secondarily in that scene. Chance's mother is Nina Webster, who should be back this fall to be part of Christine Blair's remarriage to Danny Romalotti. Nina has been a recurring character in recent years and should have already been seen, considering the depth of this tragedy. Philip III also hasn't been seen or heard from. What could be called a background storyline was created for Cole. He returned from a business trip for Newman Publishing that took him around the world. He contracted an initially undiagnosed illness while he was gone. It was caught too late, and nothing could be done for the man Victoria Newman was once married to, and shares a remarkably returned daughter, Claire Newman, with him. At least viewers were given a believable send-off story and witnessed a farewell hospital scene between Cole, Claire, and Victoria that included a fitting two-shot goodbye from Cole to Victoria. Some type of memorial should have been shown for Cole, rather than having the Newman family father at the ranch, with Victor Newman using the event to behave badly toward Claire and Kyle. Abbott. Damien was drugged through liquor that Kane's criminal assistant purposely spiked. Rivers' short run on Y&R ended with a knife being thrown into Damien's back from a sizable distance. Viewers later learned that a memorial was held that included his mother, Amy Lewis, Holden, Nate, and Audra Charles. It would have been nice to see Damien's service or have a gathering afterwards, but the writing staff apparently didn't believe this character's length of screen time warranted it, which makes sense. Beards hasn't been seen on screen since 2011. His character wasn't brought back when Catherine died in 2013, so Philip III's lack of visibility in this instance may mean this character will only be referenced rather than seen. The actor who portrayed him may not be able to return, or a recast for this current purpose isn't feasible. But Nina can certainly come back to GC before the wedding in October. That storyline is and should remain upbeat. Hopefully, the fans don't see Nina deal with Chance's death for the first time this fall. Ronan Malloy is Nina's other child and Chance's brother. He hasn't been in GC since 2012 and works for the federal government. So Ronan's absence has been and can be explained away unless he returns to honor Chance in some way. Guess who he'll manipulate next? On the August 21st episode of The Young and the Restless, Victor suddenly did an about-face and told Claire that he won't stand in the way of her relationship with Kyle, while telling Kyle that he passed the test and is now good enough to date Victor's granddaughter. Victoria and Nikki were suspicious, but as soon as Diane and Jack expressed their qualms, they instantly leapt to defending the great and powerful Victor. We're with Diane and Jack on this one. We think we know exactly what Victor is plotting. Claire warned Victor that if he kept objecting to her and Kyle's relationship, Claire would cut him off. Victor can't have that. A grandchild not worshipping him goes against the laws of nature. So Victor adjusted his course. He told Claire he was generously allowing her to live her one life, even if that includes Kyle. That way, when it all falls apart, she won't blame him, and it will fall apart. Not because Kyle is immature and can't keep any relationship. That will help. But Victor doesn't have the patience to wait. Instead, what if Victor summons Summer back home from Italy and gives her the same speech he gave Claire about how he grew up a poor orphan and how important family is, especially for a child to have his parents together? Hey, how is Harrison dealing with Kyle and Summer's split? Yep, Victor will manipulate Summer into manipulating Harrison into sobbing his big blue eyes out over Mommy and Daddy's divorce and his subsequent living in two homes. Sure, Harrison loved Claire when she was his nanny, but as soon as Victor explains to Summer to explain to Harrison that Claire is the reason he can't live with them both, that infatuation should come to an end, the two developed a mutual admiration for each other, which could grow into something more. Kane and Phyllis toasted to their mutual admiration. He claims they're not business partners, but they're not exactly equals either. Does this mean that the two could become more on The Young and the Restless? On the Tuesday, August 19th, episode of Y&R, Phyllis stopped by Kane's train with a bottle of champagne. She wanted to celebrate their new venture, but he wasn't in the partying mood, especially when he disappointed his kids. They just learned that he was Aristotle Dumas. Kane wants to make it up to his family, but he doesn't know how. Phyllis knows what it's like to betray her kids. She faked her death and had them covered up for her. She's not any better, and yet that makes her an expert. Phyllis told Kane that she could offer her knowledge in this area. Her kids eventually forgave her, and she knows that they will too. But it will take time. She reminded Kane of the time when he forgave his father. Still in the celebratory mood, Phyllis gave Kane a glass of champagne and toasted to their children. Kane declined her drink and said his children aren't as forgiving as hers. Phyllis told Kane to give it some time, which set him off. Kane reminded Phyllis that he's not the patient type. Because of this, Phyllis felt bad for Kane. She wasn't sure if she should stick around, but he told her to stay. Then, he tried to define their odd dynamic. They're not friends, business partners, or equals. Kane told Phyllis that he admired her. She clinked his glass and said, "I understand." As they clinked their glasses, they toasted, "Here's to our mutual admiration." Is there something else brewing here? Will these two outcasts find love with one another? Or will this be a steamy and passionate affair? Phyllis is way overdue for one. We'd like to see where this goes next.